Okay, here we are, folks. Hello, everyone, to Friday Night Conversations. I am Steve Holder. I'm your host, and we have Smiley Story here with Smiley's World, and she's going to smile and profile anytime she wants. So, she's going to be my guest host, and so thank you all for joining in. Uh, my special guest tonight is going to be Angel Brooks. She should be signing on anytime now. She is a private investigator, and I interviewed her a couple of years ago on another podcast I had called Holding On with Holder. My thing was I love to talk to interesting people about interesting things. And that podcast is archived now, but it's still available on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it. But now we're talking to Angel Brooks. She is a private investigator. We're going to talk about her career and her line of work, and we'll also talk about the Summer Wells case. Because the last time I talked to her, we talked a little bit about it, and she's a lady that knows her stuff. Let's see, I just got a message from her. Let me see here. Okay. Okay, Angel, if you're here, click that link. I'm not seeing you. Are you here? Because I do not see you and I do not hear you. Yeah. Let me message her just a second and see what we can do here. It says I'm backstage. Backstage? We don't have a backstage. This is Restream. Did I send her the wrong link?
Now you're sounding like me.
Okay, hold on here. Let's see. Go ahead and talk for a minute if you want to, Smiley. I'll be right there. Just
Okay, well, I'm Smiley. I'm Smiley, and I hope everybody joins.
Okay. Yeah, she just sent me a picture of our right screen, but why am I not seeing her backstage?
I don't. There's a little round thing there. I don't. You're on Restream, but
Do the round thing?
I don't see you backstage. I see a private chat down there. You're asking the wrong one. Do you know, Smiley, don't touch no buttons?
I see Millie. Hello, Millie. Welcome.
Millie, maybe you can help. Does he have a backstage on Restream? Oh,
Okay.
this is.
Wow. Hey, we got everybody in with our special guest. I don't know it. Sorry, Angel. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It's not like I know what I'm doing.
Millie told me don't touch no buttons.
Let's see. Angel, can you see this private chat I just sent you? And if so, that'll tell me something. I don't know what. Okay. Okay, she can see the private chat. Well. Hello, Auntie M and T Special K. Welcome in here.
Welcome everybody coming in.
Special guest on here. Okay. How do I add her when I can't see her? I don't understand. If anybody knows the answer in chat, please tell me.
I had to actually type something in my phone.
Hey, I see it. I had to scroll down to get her.
Hey.
see, sorry, I had to scroll down on my screen to see you down there. So anyway,
Smiley
welcome.
don't know nothing.
It's all my fault. I take full responsibility. I don't have no idea what I'm doing. So you
Oh,
introduce yourself a little bit about you.
oh my God, that made my
Angel,
day.
folks, this is Angel Brooks. She's a private investigator, and she is an expert
Hey,
on private investigating. Hi, Angel.
nice to
Nice to meet you all.
meet you.
And our silent guest is Mike Ben in the front. I try to say his name. Ben Fronte. He's an MB that ain't showing his face tonight. But anyway, he's going to be a special guest in a couple of weeks, so he just popped in here. So,
Okay.
Angel, tell us all about you.
Okay, so I am a forensic private investigator. What I started out doing was my background is in forensics and crime scene investigation. So I've kind of done everything from investigations to forensic autopsies. Like I've been in the whole way around. And so what I found out throughout my career was like law enforcement, different agencies didn't have a lot of time to allot to cases. You know, they would pick it up, and if there was nothing, or if it was more than 48 hours, it's like to the wayside until, you know, something more information comes up or there's another lead. And so I knew at some point what I wanted to do was to be able to help those families and victims out a lot more by diving deeper into their cases, because as a PI, I can keep going as long as I want to. So I can look at it, I can reinvestigate it. And after doing that work for a few years, afterwards I got picked up by, I don't know if you've seen Fatal Attraction on TV One, but I go on there and I speak as a forensic expert. The show is about cases. It's kind of like a reenactment, but with forensic experts, and it talks about crimes of passion, where people are murdered, and so I kind of give my expertise on like coming from law enforcement, and then just in general, how the case went, what could have been done better, what could have changed, or what kind of things they look for as far as evidence and different things like that, to help people understand how that works when it comes to certain cases, and how crimes of passions all come about. So that's what I do now.
Okay. So are most crimes of passion?
A lot of them are. Sometimes when it comes to domestic violence and different assaults and stuff like that, people don't realize that happens right in marriages. That happens right in relationships. It's not just there's a stranger that just comes up and then just does this to me. A lot of these times, they're crimes of passion where, you know, a spiteful spouse or a spiteful, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend who feel like they're not getting the answers, or they just snap, and then the chain of events that follow is tragic. So a lot of them are crimes of passion. Most crimes happen from somebody that knows somebody. So I know through forensics, I learned that out. You know, it's very rarely it's somebody who just doesn't know you at all. A lot of times it's somebody who knows you, whether it be a coworker or a significant other, family member, mother, whomever. And after doing a lot of work doing investigations in the prison system, a lot of women who commit crimes is all behind a man. You know, whether that man is leading her or telling her to do certain things, and she feels like that's how she's going to win his love, or she comes from a tragic background, and then he comes in and he's like, I'm coming in as I'm saving the day, and then does the same amount of damage. So definitely crimes from partners that are known, or friends or associates that are known, is very, very common.
Yeah. So how did you get into private investigating? And is it as exciting as it is on TV?
It can be. So one of the things, one of the lessons, the biggest lesson that I had to learn was it's okay to put it down and pick it back up later. A lot of families, they want answers right away. They want to know what happened, who did it, how they did it. And sometimes, as a private investigator, my job might not be to, or may not be to find who did it or why. It might be a link or a lead to who could be a possible, it might be just finding that link or just finding some evidence going into that right direction. It might not always necessarily solve the case. Especially, sometimes there's a lack of evidence. Sometimes there's people who are silenced, people who won't speak, or, the crime happened so many years ago that the trail is quiet until, it gets picked up again. I know when I started, it got kind of overwhelming, but I started writing for Newsbreak, and I would highlight different missing person cases, and I would talk about those cases. I'd write a blog post about those cases and what evidence might have been found on it or what that case is at now, and if you find any information. And I think it just started flooding. I think I opened up the floodgates because, people were coming out like, I knew this from back then and I knew this. And I'm like, why is nobody going to law enforcement and telling law enforcement about these cases? Why did it just take this to come out for you to flood my email? So sometimes it could be a good thing, and sometimes you're like, whoa, not expected. So yes. So I kind of chilled on Newsbreak for a little while because as soon as I would highlight a case, I would get flooded. So I was like, yeah.
So what is generally the technique or game plan that you use to get information?
So primarily what I do is get all the information from the parents. What do you know about this case, or your family? What do you know about this case? Can you tell me more information about this case? I kind of go there first, especially if the family is, it depends on where the family is. If they're kind of like the suspects, I kind of steer clear, and then go around to connections. Usually they have a preliminary report, and they'll have all the information on the reports, or the report may have already gone to court. So they'll provide all the information from court. They'll provide all the information, trial transcripts, things like that, evidence. I had one mom on one case. She had the autopsy report. She had the layout of all her son's friends. She had his complete phone layout of everybody that's ever had anything to do with the case. I mean, she just had it all. I was floored that as a mom, but she was a fighter, and she went and she had everything. So that made my life that much easier. But just getting the basics, going back to those families and friends that were interviewed. And there's been so many times when they've been interviewed and law enforcement didn't ask any questions, or they were like, oh, this is a suicide. We're not asking anything else. We clean, cut, dry. But in reality, there's way more to it, and they've had to actually kind of reopen the case. So, and look into it deeper because they weren't. It wasn't that type of case. And you find that a lot of times in small towns because they don't have access to all the resources. So I would get a lot of cases from little bitty towns in Mississippi, little bitty towns in Tennessee, little bitty towns, in different places where people are like, can you just look over this and just see, if there's any other possible leads or any more information. So definitely starting there, because family and friends will tell you so many things that can lead so many ways, even if they're not potential suspects or have interest in the case. It may be that one little tip they give you that could lead you into the right direction.
How long does it usually take to rule out the parents or close relatives?
Well, with law enforcement, you can tell kind of very early on, they get very, almost like a spidey sense where they're like, this is not, there's something onto this. But there might not be any physical evidence that's going to say they did it and this is why, So ruling out the parents can take a while. You may know in your mind, okay, they obviously have some connection to this of some sort because it just isn't adding up. But having enough to convict them is another thing. So for instance, there was a case that was here. in Wetumpka, where there was a missing, in Alabama, where there's a missing mother and son. And the guy was a firefighter on the local naval Air Force base. Yeah, the Air Force base. And everybody knows he did it. Everybody knows he did it. Even law enforcement went in there and they're like, who burns everything in their house and remodels like a couple days after your family's gone? Like it's there, but there's no evidence to say he did it.
Right.
So that can prolong it so many years until either A, some witness comes forward, B, he admits that he's done it, or there's some other link that shows, okay, he's definitely did it. They know he did it. They just don't have anything that's going to stick to prove he did it. Because if they go to trial or go in front of a grand jury, he'll walk because there's nothing to hold him. So,
right.
So it can take a long time, especially, like when you guys are talking about this, Summer Wells case. If there's nothing, you can have all this circumstantial evidence that's like, this is not right. But until you have something solid to go, okay, we could take this to trial because there's without a doubt, even with Casey Anthony, it's like, and then like look at crime scene investigation and all their mess ups, all the screw ups with the DA's office and law enforcement and all these other agencies. It can tear the whole case apart. Like even if you have a little bit of something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, can I ask what you think about that case now? Like, I know that you talked about it before, but like now that all this time has come and passed by, what is your thoughts on the Summer Wells case now? Personally?
Okay, personally, off the record, not connected to law enforcement.
Yeah.
I definitely think there is still something connected to the parents. I haven't heard anything, but I'm still not getting a good explanation as to why. What is it? Mom's sister? What's his name?
Rose.
And nothing.
Yeah.
So that right there is like, I can't get around it. Then for her to be gone and just nobody know anything, like and then everywhere they've searched, nothing. They've gone all these places, nothing. But I feel like there has to be something, because if DCF, or I don't know what you call it in Tennessee, but like Department of Children and Families, like if the children have been removed, if there's a lawsuit over this money, what else is there? I feel like somebody, and it might not be something that's known to us. It may be something that's just known to law enforcement and they're just waiting for that smoking gun. Like they could know something that we don't know. Right. But I just feel like they're doing too many cautious things.
Yeah.
For there not to be something else. They just don't have enough. So I'm not sure. And then the fact that the other sibling, like, gone without a trace, and then like now she's gone without a trace.
Two coincidence.
Yeah. And then just from interrogation tactics and forensic interviewing, and then I do a lot of criminal profiling. I see something is not, when you see their personalities, how they are on social media, it's like off. So I'm just like, something, that spidey sense, something is I can't put my finger on it, and I'm sure other agencies and law enforcement can. And you got to remember, if law enforcement has something, they are not going to let that cat out the bag until something changes itself. So the fact that they've taken all these other precautions, why?
Yeah.
There's nothing there. Why?
Yeah.
It's just not things that law enforcement does. Or we're just going to take your kids. We know you didn't do anything, but we're just going to take them just because.
Yeah. They don't take them, and they don't take them. And can we get this straight? You're a professional. They don't just take your kids because you call and say, I need you to come take my kids that we feel like we're in danger. Does that happen? I mean, you don't call DCF and say, can you come take my kids? I need a babysitter now for about however long because we feel like people's harassing us and we're in danger. That don't happen.
Absolutely not. And I have been an investigator in Florida of child abuse cases, and that's just not common.
Right. Thank you.
Not going to call and make a report and say, come take my kids.
They have to have just cause to come take their kids.
And if I come out and be like, there's nothing wrong with you taking care of your kids. But now, if your other child is missing and just gone, that's like,
yeah,
that's a whole other red flag. So,
yeah. Exactly.
And sometimes, when they do forensic interviews with kids, those interviews are sealed. They're not going to come out to the public. So that portion, one of the children could have revealed something. They could be talking now. And sometimes when you remove children from the home and out of that atmosphere and that peer pressure and things like that, they'll start singing. They'll start singing like a canary because they don't have anybody holding them or making them be quiet, and not being able to speak. They'll start talking. So it might not come now. It may come a year from now, or it could be now. But those are things that will be sealed for the child protection. So there could be something that was said that got them removed. That's another part too.
Yeah. Steve, I didn't mean to take over. I was just... You're mute. Can't hear you. You're mute. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I told him to check his mute button.
I think he's...
I think he's having a smiley day. This happens to me all the time. Can't hear you.
It might be live. He may have to scroll down again because that's where he found me.
I sent him a message, but I don't think he wants to check his phone. Okay, they're saying for him to go out and come back in.
Come back in, then he'll probably be...
I can't hear you. He's not answering his phone.
He just messaged us.
Okay, he said take over. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. But I'm laughing because this happens to me all the time.
Oh
no. Oh gosh. Okay. All right. So anyway, so what made you want to be a private investigator?
I think so. Like for the families, it was just the opportunity to dig into the cases a lot more with no time restraints. So I can kind of dig in, look a lot more into the cases. And then when I started just being more of an advocate for the families. So I kind of knew the side from law enforcement, what they're being exposed to. And then, at the same time, what the families going through, I knew that aspect, especially with like having my trauma informed training and things like that. So I felt like I could bridge that gap on some cases,
Yeah.
to be able to help the families. Because sometimes they're not just looking for results on the case. They're just looking for somebody who cares, somebody who's invested, who will check in. They don't want to keep getting that dial tone or, that hang up from law enforcement who's overwhelmed and overworked. Or sometimes they don't want to feel like you're not hearing them. So my motto is always to be a voice for the voiceless in any capacity. So just being there to be a voice for people that are unable to be heard or speak for themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think they just want that, that solid person. Sometimes it's just there and consistent, and you got to be able to speak to people in a certain manner. And actually, I think it's good when they can be comfortable with somebody that can speak their language. Sometimes, if it's a calm tone or if it is their street language or however they're speaking, that's important to come off that the way they're doing, because that's going to be the way that you're going to have to handle them. And that's just my opinion.
Right. And that's true. And some people, some cases that I've gotten, they just are not, they're not all about the cops. They don't want to have any connection to that legal. So they're like, hey, if you could speak for me so that I don't have to do this, because if you can be a voice, sometimes that's one of the things too, is they just want somebody to feel like they care. And sometimes they're just like, oh, I don't like the cops. And it could be just from past trauma or some incidents that they've had, or they've been arrested, or, who knows.
Yes.
But having that neutral party there, a lot of people kind of like that more, a lot better than just having that, oh, they're going to hang up on me, or the cops don't care, or they're not vested in this, I'm just a number type of thing.
Yeah, and I get that. I understand that. I think that's I think that's wonderful. I try to handle some of my stuff like that too. And I'm not experienced or anything like that, but that's the way I try to like to run my show too. And a lot of people don't understand that, but I've even offered to call or do or whatever, email me. And I try to stand by my word when I say something, but that's why, if you feel more comfortable to me do it, I'd rather take the heat and do it for you,
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, exactly.
Even I've gone into communities like here in Montgomery, and the cops are like, I went down all these streets and nobody will say a word, but they all are telling you everything. And I'm like, sometimes it's just that demeanor. You don't have to go in there like you're a cop. You don't have to go in there, with an ego or anything like that. You just talk to them like they're people. You make them feel like they are people. And they, will spill it. I remember one time I was working a crime scene, and law enforcement was like, my team was like, we don't know how this happened. We don't know what happened in this scene, and nobody's talking and nobody's nothing. So I went into the barbershop, and they seen it all. And they were like, I said, hey, y'all, how you doing? They was like, we doing good. Do you know what happened? I said, and they said, hold on. We'll tell you this. And I said, sometimes it's just the approach. It's just the approach. Don't come in there like authority. They already know who you are. But if you come in there, but sometimes, I would be on a scene, and I would tell, like somebody got beat up or shot or something, and I'm at the hospital taking pictures of their crime scene or their injuries. And I'd be like, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me, because then I'll have to go to court. Like, don't tell me too much.
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me to get these photos and that's it.
Right. Oh.
Because then they'll be like, when you go into trial in court, which I've gone tons, they're going to ask you, well, they came to you and they told you, well, how do you know who killed him? Like, oh, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Um,
stick to the evidence.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah,
So,
I think me and you would get along just fine.
yes. Don't give me anything
So,
else.
yeah. So somebody said, has Angela ever worked in Mobile, Alabama?
Not in Mobile, but I have in Pensacola. So
Yeah, you have in Pensacola. Yeah, I was there for a short time.
now
Pensacola,
I oh, it's gotten so much worse now. I'm like, ooh.
yeah, Pensacola's getting rough. So I'm not there anymore, but it's getting something else. And they said, Angela, have you ever heard a parent say they don't want the person that abducted or harmed their child to go to prison?
So, yes. So one time I had a case where I actually was doing investigations of child abuse, and I went into the home where I knew that the father was who was a sexual offender, and his NCIC report. I mean, he had done it in tons of other places. But mom started dating him. She got married. She had a kid, and she was like, "Oh, the girl was like he was 17, she was 18." Like she tried to play it off like that, and I was like, I think he's lying to you. Like I
Yeah,
know a whole lot more than that. And she'd be like, "Well, if he gets caught, he's gonna go back to prison," and so she fought for him, and she was like, I can make arrangements. I can make sure that when I'm at work, my friend is here and she can watch him and make sure that nobody's around our kids. And then when I come home, I'll stay up all night and I'll make sure that nobody else is around the kids. So I'll make sure that he doesn't touch them. And I'm like, man, that's not reality. That's
yeah,
not real. Like, there's no way you could put somebody, and if you have to put somebody to babysit your husband so that he doesn't touch your kids, there's a problem.
yeah. Yeah.
But she was so happy with him and she was so in love. But yes, that is a situation where, and I did, of course, turn him in. He went back to jail
Yeah.
because he shouldn't have been around kids, and he shouldn't have been. The whole situation should have never happened. But then she was upset because who's going to take care of her? Who's going to take care of her kids? But yeah, that's a situation where she didn't want him to go to back to prison, but he's done it everywhere, and he's
Yeah.
not even supposed to be in your house. So
Yeah. Wow.
it's just the things that people do that just make you go, "What in the world?" Like, make this make sense to me. And I told her, I said, "I need you to make this make sense to me because I'm not getting it."
Yeah. Yeah. They say Don is for sure a quality of dad. And that's what he said that before. He actually said he didn't want he didn't want, let's see, how do you say it? He actually said it. They just asked him how, um, what he would want for that person. And he just didn't want that person to go to prison or whatever. I forgot how he said it verbatim, but yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like he knows the person.
Yeah. It's almost,
Do me a favor. I don't want you.
yeah. And then he said on a call yesterday, I think it was something about he knows how people are done in prison and tortured and stuff like that. When something come up about a movie that was being watched, and somebody said, well, I'll tell you what, I think how and this is a year later, I think something should be done to the people in prison. They shouldn't be put to death or something like that. They should be tortured, and he's like, well, that happens for sure, and I can verify that, and something to that effect. So it's almost like he don't want the person to go. He knows. I mean, they all know, in my opinion, up there on that hill, it keeps coming back to 110, and that's my opinion. That's just me. It's just so bad.
And there's so many red flags. I don't see how anybody could not see them.
Yeah.
Because they're clear as day that there's something that's off. whether negligent on their side or a true accident because they don't have, I mean, it almost seems like they are living a little at poverty level, if I'm not mistaken. Like they're kind of
Yeah.
having, yeah.
Yeah, they
So-
definitely are. Or there's something that somebody's missing somewhere. It's definitely something.
And
And
I think mom is definitely loyal to him.
yes. So I don't know if
Almost
they have something on each other, or she has something on him, or he has something on her, or both going back, but there's something going on like that.
And it's almost like an abusive to where it almost seems like to me like an abusive relationship where he can get her to shut, don't you say?
Oh yeah, there's abuse, but both ways. But see, she's an abusive person as well. Thank you. He said I'm doing okay. He knew I was going to be a little bit nervous anyway, and then he has to go leave me.
This is great.
But anyway, I'm just trying to go. Are you okay with all this? But yeah,
I definitely think there's something more there, and I think that law enforcement has that sense too. It's just it's not clear. So whether they took her and whatever was done, there was no evidence left, and I feel like it could be almost the same sense of the sibling, like gone without a trace. Like whatever they did that time worked, or if they were involved, I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense. And then now, no leak of anything.
Where's Summer 1-800-TBI would like to know, would you say past severe child abuse on her first two children that was taken away from her would be a concerning factor to you?
For sure. Yes. Yes. I definitely think that is definitely a concerning factor. That could enhance the reason why the other two children were removed, and then degree to which all that abuse was. I mean, I'm not familiar of how bad it was, but
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I don't think she was actually charged. I'd have to go back and see exactly verbatim. It's been so long since I looked into it, but I think she literally had to turn over her rights because, if I'm not mistaken, allegedly so she would not be charged to something to that effect. So I think there's that. But still, it's her daughter, her first daughter is grown now, and she's actually come on to speak, and it's not very good stuff about her mom. So. And it's not very good stuff about the other son who's handicapped and stuff due to all of that. But she had to turn over her rights,
If she had to turn over her rights, it was pretty serious. If she had her rights terminated, because the idea behind removing your children from the home with Department of Children and Families, the idea is that you will work a case plan, you will do services, you will implement all of these different things into your home, and then with the hopes that you will take all of these skill sets and you will change that behavior or change what you're doing or no longer do but usually if parents are arrested or the abuse is severe enough for an arrest or any of that thing of that nature, it's usually TPR, which is where your rights are terminated and there's no chance that that child is going back into your home. It's just not happening. So the fact that she was able to have more, she might have been hiding under the radar, because usually if your other ones are TPR, then those other children follow right behind, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, you had another one? Coming to get that one. You had another one? Coming to get that one, because of what you did to these two was severe enough. But I'm not exactly sure why the other ones weren't taken then if what she did was severe enough to the first two, unless she was laying under the radar. Some do. They hide, they bounce around, they're real hard, or either they make the children, intimidate them so they don't speak, they don't talk about what's going on in the house, and so you can fly under the radar a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that was her first two kids by a different person, and so it's a whole complicated thing. And then she got with Don or different people, and then so then she got with Don and had these other children. So then they got taken away. They've had like 9 children taken away between them, 8 or 9. So
I see. Somebody said she jumped state to state. She has something. That's why she's been able to fly underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They jump. That's what they do, and they run every time. So what do you know anything about Tim Mullen? Somebody wants to know what you think about Tim Mullen.
What is that case?
He's in the Summer Wells, but he's their media manager, PR person. Do you know anything about him? Or
I don't, and that's kind of alarm. They have a PR person.
Yeah. He hasn't done anything, so he hasn't made himself relevant. He just called.
Why would they need? I'm just thinking, like, if my child is missed, like, why would you need a PR person?
Yeah, you got us. He just kind of showed up. It's kind of weird. So, yeah, he hasn't done anything except he went with them to be on the Dr. Phil show. Except he wasn't on the Dr. Phil show. People's now saying, okay, let me ask you a question, because people's now saying he may be a undercover cop that's just been hanging around the whole time. Could that be possible?
Could be. Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Could very well be. And just hoping for that moment where they may slip up and say something. I mean,
because Don thinks he's his best friend. Yeah, let's put it that way. Don thinks he's his best friend. So
also, he might eventually, if he is one, I mean, and he could play into that role to get the family to bite. I mean, he just has to win their trust if he is one.
Yeah. Well, he's got their trust. I think they would be really, people say, well, why do y'all talk about it online? And somebody just kind of threw it out there and said they verified it today, but we don't know that. They're like, well, why did you do that? He'll know then. And I was just thinking, leave that boy alone. They're too naive to know that. That's his best friend. He says he's his best friend.
And even when you look strategically at previous cases where people have been charged with possible murder or maybe pending charges with murder, the ones that are very have a big ego and are very I'm great for what I did. And one of the things that stands out as one of when it comes to profiling as a possible predator would definitely be them soaking up that media attention. So oftentimes when somebody is guilty of something, they will be everywhere media is. They will be everywhere. You're doing a search, they're there. You're doing it. And so it was so funny. They had this case in Pensacola and they couldn't find this guy for anything. Like they were searching all over for him. But anyways, he was at all the search parties. He was at all the news briefings. Like he was there. And it's just those are the places that you have to look. So now law enforcement has shifted their mindset to, okay, so we're going to have one of our other investigators scanning people that are in here that are attending this news brief or this search, because sometimes those that are so proud of what they've done or they feel like they need to be recognized on some level, they will be right there the whole time. So the fact that they have invested into PR, which maybe an attorney if you're accusing me of something, but public relations?
Yeah. And it may not be, and plus so much, it's not so much that, also too, that they're out looking for their daughter or they're out putting flyers or this, that, and the other up and stuff like that. But their own social media and they're doing the websites or their own YouTube and everybody's panel and stuff like that. But that's how they're putting their self out. But they don't want to talk about their daughter. They want to be the center of attention for themselves.
exactly it. And this is bringing like all that attention to them. I mean, think of all the outlets. I mean, between bloggers and podcasters and, content creators and all these people speaking about this case.
Yes.
It's boosting their ego. And sometimes people come from different walks of life. So something that may boost their ego that may be sickening to you, but to them it's like, I'm getting recognized now.
Yes.
I'm getting attention for this. I'm being recognized. I'm getting attention. I'm not going to admit to what I did, but finally I'm getting noticed, and so sometimes their characteristics, some of those can just be red flags that's showing you like, I don't know, I'm just floored by the PR. That would be right in itself. What in the world? Your child is missing. I would be looking for search teams. If your child is missing, let's just take Anaya Blanchard's case, for example, here in Alabama, when her daughter was missing and taken from that gas station. They used all their resources. They didn't have to go get a PR team. They used all of their resources. As a parent, your child is missing and it makes national news. You have the floor to go wherever you want to go to speak because the people want to hear from you. The media wants to hear from you. So you don't have to exercise that much to have like a public relations because people want to hear your story. That's what the news is after. You don't have to have anybody negotiate that or negotiate contracts or anything. That's why I'm like, where is this going?
Yeah.
Why would you invest in that? Even if it was for free, I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it either. A lot of people don't. And so that's one other thing right there. Let's see.
So the lawsuit in general, do you know the details of that? Like, what is that?
About the, somebody asked you about the lawsuit about.
So it's kind of like the judge is trying to take the money, I guess, and they want it to go to this nonprofit if it's not going to be used for the search. But it's like, is the family wanting the other money? Is that why it's in court? Like the family wants the money, but the judge is like, we're not searching right now. So it's going to, we don't have anything. We don't need to use any resources to search because there's no further evidence. Nothing's come up, where we need to do another search. But they're trying to put that money into a local nonprofit where it was said that's where that money will go. But there's somebody else who wants that money. And I was like, it's got to be the family.
As far as I know, that was going to the Advocate Center. The last I heard about it.
But it was raised for summer, correct?
It was for summer. So, but I don't know where. I mean, as far as I know, that's what happened. That it went to the Advocate Center. I thought that was. I don't think the family's getting it. I don't, because I know at one time that they said that it would have to be directed to them, but I don't know what happened with that, honestly.
Because typically when you do like a fund or you raise funds, it does go to the family. But for some reason, courts are now involved and it's shifting. So like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I just try to stay out of that because I didn't want no part of all that. But let's see, it's all been given to the Child Advocacy Center now. Yeah, so now, because at one time, Brittany said it's all gone to the Advocacy Center now.
Who was supposed to get it originally, Brittany?
Who was supposed to get it originally?
When the funds were raised.
Wasn't it Brittany, wasn't it Candace and Dawn, and they said they didn't want no part of it?
Oh.
Supposedly.
Oh, they did something with a baby doll and a.
It was the Advocacy Center.
Okay.
Yeah. And see, I had a big problem with that. Everybody had a big problem with with all of that, but I try to stay out of it because it was so many people that,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that I knew, and I don't want to say anything bad against anybody or anything. I just think, um, I just wasn't part of it. That's all I'm going to say.
Nasty there. It did. Started seeing stuff. I was like, whoa. Um, Ava saying something about the baby doll in the tote. What was that?
Oh
Baby doll
God.
in the
Yeah, there was some people that had came down and but Candace had put a baby doll in a tote and a supposedly who does that? She went down to supposedly run the people off or something, and the psychics and stuff came down. People come down. It was all on Ben Hill Road and stuff like that, and she thought she was being slick and playing pranks and took the baby doll. I don't know if the head was off. I don't know, but anyway, she put a baby doll in a tote, went down, carried it down to the end of the street, left the baby in the tote at the end of the street. Now, this is the mother of a missing child we're talking about. She,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, she played all kinds of pranks. They called the sister. She called the sister. There was a phone call prank, and she should have got an award for 10 years, #1 award for the fake crying for 45 minutes or so, saying the police was coming to get Donnie and I mean, all kinds of pranks going on. And
Oh wow.
who does this? Who does this when you have a missing child? I mean,
Oh
you know, just all kinds of stuff.
wow.
All kinds of pranks. I never heard of such. Have you ever heard of somebody missing in your entire career of being a private eye and the parents playing pranks and jokes like this?
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. For one, they'd be too distraught to even. I mean, every day of not knowing where your child is, like it's just. I mean, and then you can kind of, like I said, you can tell by their mannerisms and the way that they act. I mean, some people are found out a lot sooner than others. I know here, somebody's child was missing, and it was like the husband though, he was like real like, but the mom was like boohoo and crying. So then you're kind of like, I think you did something, like you're too calm.
Yeah.
You're not emotional or nothing. And it ended up he did do something, but it's just kind of like, but he had the child like, oh, it's missing. They did this whole thing where the child was missing. You got to search for the baby. It's been abducted, abducted. And so it was just,
Yeah.
their personalities. It's just, I think there's something more. There's something more for sure.
Yeah. How many cases have you worked on where they actually have moved the body? I don't know, trigger warning, I guess, how to say that appropriately, but where they had actually moved the victim, and how many times can that be done without getting caught?
Oh, they can do that quite a bit. I haven't had too many where they moved it, but like again, they watch where social media is. Where the news is, where the law enforcement is, and if they feel like they're getting closer, they'll move the body somewhere else. A lot of times, and that's the whole thing that makes me cringe about the news, is because like you don't know everything, so stop talking sometimes, because then they turn around and they find out all the tips. Well, they're looking over in this park. We got to move the body. Oh, they're looking over here. We got to move, And sometimes, they can move the body several times. And then sometimes some, if they get tired of moving it, they'll put it in plain sight and be like, all right, come find it.
Yeah.
Here it is. It just depends on how close that body is to them. If it's in a vicinity that's close to them, like in a home or, like they'll definitely want to get it out of there if they know that, oh, you're coming you're coming to look for. You're coming to, law enforcement's going to come to me next because according to the news, I'm the number one suspect.
So yeah, and so that's my concern too. If they have searched their property, 11 acres or whatever, over and over, and then they say, oh, it's not there, and it's been searched and turned upside down over and over, it's still a good possibility that they could have put her back there, and now they give nobody permission to go up there. And so if Ellie's not looking there, then it's still a good possibility that is her final place, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not personally crazy.
And they can move, like they can move it around. They can have it and then I think the more though that the decomposition happens, the less they're gonna stop. They're gonna be moving it as often. So they're gonna they might move it around while she's still, but then as the decomposition happens, they're probably not gonna move it around as often as you would think.
Yeah.
And so I know Out and About had something about the reward money is for anyone.
Yeah, a person who gets the reward money is for anyone, give them information leading to the whereabouts of Summer. No parents, hold on a minute. Told you.
It bugged down.
The whereabouts of Summer. No parents ever get that money automatically. They would put it in a claim like the others did. So there's
Okay. So sometimes when it comes from, like, let's just say Crime Stoppers raises the funds, right?
Yes.
So those funds we all know that those are going to go to whoever has evidence or, however that works. But sometimes families need money for searches, for private search and rescues. And so they will do a GoFundMe or they would do some other ways to raise that fund, or they may have, I don't know, some parents have even had like an event in the park, and then all the funds that go to that will go into like this fund to help with search. I've had plenty of cases where families have done that themselves, like they orchestrated, they set it up, and those funds. So I didn't know exactly where those funds were coming from, but if they're coming from like a legal agency or Crime Stoppers or something of that nature, then yes, they're going to go to whoever's given a tip or more information. So I didn't know where those funds came from. That's why I was asking. So thank you, Out and About. Glad I didn't know where those particular funds had come from.
Yes, thank you. Okay, can you ask Angela and Steve their opinion on what they think about what Allison's daughter True says happened to Summer when she was supposedly 3? Is that where, okay, which part? Is that where she was taking Mama Bear to, are you talking about when she was taken over there in the middle of the night, or which part are you talking about, Mama Bear? You have to be more specific. And Steve something's wrong with his computer. I rescued him. He's having a smiley moment right now. So he's trying to get his computer side fixed.
Oh yeah, where's Summer? So unless she is inside something tightly sealed, it'll be easy for them to, and that is true. They do keep moving. I did have a case I worked in crime scene where he buried his fiance inside of their closet, but she was in a tote all the way in the bottom. Like, the only reason that anybody knew that this had taken place was because the odor that was coming from the home.
Yeah.
So
And see, at one point they said at his job that they had smelled something and thought something was at one of the walls, but he was saying that it was mud, and mud smelled that bad. But I don't know about, I don't know about all that either, because they're saying mud don't smell like that. And he does drywall, but I don't know if they ever checked that out or not.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have those resources at work. What's the other father that killed his wife, and then his two daughters, and she was pregnant with a son.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of his name, but they made a Lifetime movie. They did a whole bunch behind that. But he buried them at work because he had access to a whole, those towers, and he just dumped them in there. So, if they have access to stuff like that, that's going to be their first resort. I don't know exactly what they did, but I don't think they had the capacity to do something super extreme. It's just we don't know where. We don't know where or how or what. Yes, Chris Watts. There we go. But I think they just don't seem like they have the resources to do something over the top.
Yeah.
It's just we just don't know what they did. If they did something, that's off the record. I'm not saying they did, but if they did, some people can try that. But if they did, I don't think that it would be. I'm trying not to say anything like demeaning, but I don't think they have the resources to do something like drastic to where we would just never find her. But like if they were going to burn her in acid or do something like that, or somebody that had some skill set could do. I think it's just somewhere we just don't know.
Yeah.
Where.
I think, that's what I think. I think we'll eventually find her, or they will eventually find her.
Yes.
Because, like Don said, from day one, she'll never, she won't be found or whatever, or, but he said from day one, we'll see her in the resurrection, or I'll see her in the resurrection. That was so weird.
How would you know? Why would you?
Yeah, why would you say something like that unless you knew she was deceased?
Right.
And he always talked in past tense from the beginning.
Even if you put your daughter into trafficking, there's plenty of parents who sell their children into trafficking. Like, that's not going to be your response.
Yeah. I feel like if that was done, it was done still locally. And I personally still feel like she's in the area. But that's just me.
And then too, when some people commit crimes, okay, sometimes you can kind of gauge what kind of crime somebody's going to commit, because sometimes, okay, for instance, burglaries I worked, there will be some people that they wanted to steal this safe outside of a Wendy's. So they actually worked in Wendy's. So they were employees. So they cut outside in the brick in the exact measurements of where that thing, where that was. And then took the safe out. Didn't even have to go in the building. Okay, skill set. Then you have somebody else who broke into a construction site, and while he was in there, he made himself a sandwich, ate half of it, left the sandwich there, and left. You see what I'm saying? It's a different skill set that that some criminals have. Some got the smarts and some don't. So I'm not sure, based off his criminal history, I would actually have to profile him. I would have to know his entire life and his upbringing and his marriages and his criminal history and what he did exactly in those crimes to be able to be like, okay, he could have done this, but he didn't do this,
Yeah. Well, it's just come out, and he wasn't convicted, but it's just come out too that he, because it was said earlier on, hey, by a neighbor, we felt like he was peeping in the windows or so and so, whatever. Well, it's just come out too. Sure enough, he was found peeping in somebody's window, taking red panties. He was actually in that house and was told to leave that house years ago. The cops came. There was a white van. He said he was waiting on a guy named Johnny. I mean, it's a whole thing and a whole situation, and it's been going around the internet. And it's just crazy. But think about it, because I did a whole live on it, and so did a lot of other people. But think about it. Ted Bundy, that was his profile. That was a different profile for different people. So think about, and here we are. Here we are. So what does that say? I mean, it's
Then
just,
you look at Casey Anthony, and then you look at OJ Simpson. Like, you know what I mean? It's a whole different level. Somebody got a lot of resources with.
yes.
Somebody else does not. But like a lot of the same things, like even with Casey Anthony was saying, we're just like, so your child's missing all this time, but you're still in the club partying. Make it make sense, you know?
Exactly.
Nobody's looking for her.
Yeah.
And then I watched a special she did years later, and she's like, I think it was my dad. And I'm like, I think it just came out a year or two ago, the one she did on, was it Peacock or Paramount or whatever she did it on? I can't remember. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just because some agencies drop the ball, you got to just run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
man. So I'm still wondering if Steve is okay over there.
I see him in the comments. He's definitely there.
Yeah, he said the chilling story of Summer Wells' disappearance is now available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Oh, and he said earlier he wants you to go over there and be sure and put in a review on the book if you got it. I do have the book right here. I haven't got a chance to completely read it all. Y'all know that I have been totally busy, but there is the book. It's a nice conversation piece. And he was telling me, I interviewed him the other night, and he was telling me he had a good idea that if somebody comes in and it's on the coffee table or anything like that, it does keep her name and face out there. They'll want to know about her. And I like that idea. I personally did, because a lot of people don't know. And even though, and there's just parts of it, a lot of people want to know. And even though it's unfinished, and we don't know, and we don't know what happened to her, and
it's like the case hasn't gone anywhere, but there is so much that has happened in this time frame. Like, there is so much.
Yeah.
Case hasn't moved, but my goodness, the parents are like,
yeah,
and so much that happened. So
yeah, but what's in here now, I mean, from what I can see there and what I've read so far, I mean, it's what is already out there. It's what's already out there. So, I mean, it is just something to keep her name and face out there. And that's all, what I can tell, that's all that he wants to do. But awesome. I do want to say that, but please go get it or get reviews or whatever. And I noticed that when he was putting that out. But yeah, so there's that. But let's see what else we have. Are they going to be able to do anything if they don't have evidence, do you think?
I mean, you have physical evidence, and then you have circumstantial evidence. Sometimes your circumstantial evidence can lead to your physical evidence, but you've got to have a lot of circumstance evidence to push it. It'd be really hard. And I think that's the part they're waiting for. Some states have a grand jury system, and some just go straight to trial, like Florida. I'm not sure. What is Tennessee?
Tennessee has a grand jury system. I think
Okay. So
Yeah.
likely they already know that if they don't have something to pin it on them hardcore, circumstantial, it's going to be hard to pull past a grand jury if they go there first. Circumstantial, you can push it if you feel like you have enough or witnesses or everything like that. With trials like in Florida, because it just goes straight to trial. You know, you wait your time and go straight to trial. But that grand jury is a beast. If there's not enough that they feel that's going to convict, so that's why I feel like it's gone this long, is because they're looking for something that's going to definitely.
And so they may just be waiting on that final
something,
which may be her, or they may be waiting on that one person to talk. There's a lot of people being round up there now, and it may not be specifically for that, but it may be specifically putting the pressure on them, because there's a lot of people. This is what's weird too, just names in that case that's being arrested for a lot of different things right now, which is very odd. Because again, I don't believe in a lot of coincidences, but hey, whatever. It's very weird. Every fifth person has buy one and send one for free back to original owners. Oh, what are we missing here? Oh, they're talking about, yeah. Oh, no, in Tennessee, yeah, you don't have to have a body. And they're saying they convicted Joe Daniels, no body, Perry March. Yeah, they don't have to have no body.
So then if they just have a strong enough circumstantial evidence, then they can be convicted. So my thing is, do they not feel they have strong enough circumstantial evidence at this moment?
We don't. We don't know what they're waiting on. We don't know what they're waiting on. I feel like, and a lot of us feel like that. We feel like they have a lot of enough circumstantial evidence, but we just don't know if they have enough or not. Yeah, Duchess, she's saying that we just don't know. We don't know what they got. They're holding something close to their vest. And like I said, they have a lot of people that
in the grand jury, that's sealed. You're not going to know that piece unless they just say, hey, we're moving forward. But what was discussed in there?
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that too, Mimi Jean. They're going down one way or another. They're going down. I believe that.
It's just a matter of time. I believe that too, because I just don't think. How long was he arrested when he went to jail for when he had to go for that DUI? Was that like a couple days or something, or was that like a length of time?
He didn't. Oh, he went for a length of time, and
they still was there. Break her? They couldn't break Candace at that point.
No, they didn't. See, that's the problem. They didn't question her, and then she was out doing. If that was the best chance that they had, is to get her to herself. She said herself, if I go in, I won't come out. She has stated that online before. If I go down there and I go in, I won't come out. Listen, one time, now what does this tell you? The news media had a question for her because the sheriff come out and said, oh, they're no longer cooperating. Meaning, I guess, something he asked Don while he was in jail. I don't know. Now, the news media went down there, asked her and her mom. The grandma gave a statement, okay? Candace didn't, the mom. She wrote something out on paper, and they held it up in writing. Who does that? She wouldn't come out of the house. Who does that?
Wow. And
that's a big flag.
Wow. And they couldn't get her to come.
And then they didn't ask her to come. No. No. So you tell me what is going on down there with Ellie. I don't know. But something is going on. Something's
Yeah.
wrong with this place.
Yes, that's a little strange because I mean, if somebody's being interrogated, I mean, you don't have no choice but to come out of your house. But I guess they didn't feel like they wanted to make her. I'm not sure because that would, to me, that would have provided the best opportunity because he's not there.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell her, Marlena. Okay, so let's ask this one first. How long can a secret or silent indictment last on a felony charge against a child before arrest can be made?
Mm. That one I'm not sure about because it just kind of depends. You know, different states have different protocols, and the one that I'm most familiar with is stuff that happens down here in Alabama
Yeah,
or Florida. I'm not sure about Tennessee, but I know poor Mississippi. Mississippi is just people with political positions do what they want. So,
yeah,
so I mean, I've gotten so many cases from there of people that are just like, please help, like, and I'm like, how could this not have gone anywhere? And so I think it can last for a while.
yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Okay, I want to ask you this. Okay, so there was a jacket that it showed. There was a picture of her wearing this jacket.
Mhm.
And it was like a jogging suit and stuff and a jacket. And she was in the car. And it was supposed to be one of the last pictures that she had. So this jacket ended up in a handmade trinket box. When Candace moved all of her stuff to her friend's house, um, that should have been the last jacket Summer was seen in or whatever. And that jacket ended up in that box. What about that? What do you feel about that? Her friend didn't know it was in there. It was in the truck or something that she showed her, or she had moved in with her friend for a while Dawn was in jail. Anyway, this jacket was in the box. Um,
Did she say that's what she was wearing when she went missing, or this is just?
it was in the last picture she had, like in the back of a truck.
Mm. So we don't know if. So I remember when the first case first came out, it was like she could have been inside the home, and then she was downstairs playing with her brothers, and then she ran out and was missing, or she was kidnapped from in the house. So at that point, she wouldn't have the jacket on. So I'm just trying to, I guess, the picture that they're showing, they're saying that she had all this on when she was
Yeah,
taken.
yeah.
But then the jacket is in the trinket.
Yeah, the jacket's in the trinket. So Candace did say, in my opinion, Candace did tell the cops she was washing clothes. So did she wash that and put it in there? I mean, I don't even understand this.
That's the part where I'm just kind of like, if she went into the home, came out of the car, went into the home, was playing around, and then went missing, from that point, the jacket wouldn't be on. If she was just abducted, at whatever point, whatever happened, and that's exactly what she had on, then why do you have the jacket?
Yeah. Why didn't she give it to him to use it for the dog for scent, to smell, if that's the last thing she had on? Why was it washed and put in the trinket box? That don't even make sense, though.
That's her memory keeper of her.
Yeah.
She's using to keep that, because her daughter probably wore that a lot.
Yeah.
And she was like, this will always remind me of her, which could be definitely a sign of guilt.
Yeah.
For sure. But if she was in the house, there's a lot of things that can have her recent scent. It doesn't necessarily have to be that jacket in particular. She could have had a pair of shoes on. She could have had, I don't know how she went missing. Like if she just went missing, I don't know how or what she had on. The thing was that when I first heard about the case, was she just kind of came home and then went missing, or that's what they were first saying. I don't know how the case progressed into, because they said they changed their story a whole bunch, so I'm not sure the circumstances surrounding her going missing. But if she had all that on when she went missing, and now you have this jacket and a trinket, but the thing is, I don't foresee somebody who's going to kidnap a child to be like, let me take your jacket off and let's go. Like, that's just not going to happen. You may have like a baby doll or a stuffed animal in your hand, and they snatch you up and then you're gone. But if she left in that jacket, and then the jacket it's just not adding up. It's not adding up to me. I have too many questions.
Yeah.
I would have to know for sure. Did she have all this on when she left? That's
yeah. Well, they said she had on shorts and a pink top, but in the last picture, the picture she had in the truck, the jacket she had on with the pants, she had a blood, or it looked like a blood, or it had a stain on it too. So did her mom take that off of her when she got home? Did she take it off? Did she wash it? I mean, it's just so confusing. And then it was so clean in that box. The memory box ended up at her friend's house. She never told Ellie about it. I mean, it's just a thing, man. It's crazy.
Maybe she gave a last picture of her daughter. Like, this is what she was wearing that day. But she might not have had all that on. She might not have, because she came back to the house. Like, this is what she's... Like, this is my daughter the day she went missing. We came into the house, and then however the story is, because I know she's changed it several times, but there's more things that have your child sent than just that jacket. Now, if your daughter was taken, if this is this picture you have of your daughter, okay, and your daughter's been taken from the bus stop and her jacket is there, you want that jacket, because that may have a trace of the suspect. She might have been holding that jacket in her hand and he snatched it from her. Like, there's so many scenarios with that.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, this was at home.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not adding up to me. Like, I'm just like, are you just saying, this is the picture my daughter this is what she was last in. We have the jacket here, but this is what she was last wearing. She took her jacket off in the house, but this is what she was last.
Yeah, because they said she had on shorts, and then the last picture she had on the jogging pants. So none of it adds up. And then she went swimming at the swimming hole, and she had on a bathing suit. Where is her bathing suit? Do they have her bathing suit? None of this makes sense.
Because she was at home for a minute. Like,
Yeah.
Whatever they did to her, she was in the house. Like, and then whatever happened. But if it comes to your child having a scent, and one of the other things I suggest is, like, there are safety kits out there that I usually give out to parents, and it comes with like the mouth swabs and a fingerprint pad for the parents to do fingerprints, things like that. That's stuff that you want to have, so when they compare dental records and stuff, you got it. Or DNA and things like that. But the jacket was off. Okay. She had the jacket on at some point, but I don't think Candace told them that was part of the missing outfit. Okay. So then she could have took it off when she got in the house. But if you're looking for your child's scent, that's on.
Yeah.
That's on first things. You can go into the room and grab something with their scent on. You can grab their pillowcase. You can grab their sheets, what they had on the day before. It doesn't have to necessarily be that jacket. But the fact that she saved it as like a memorabilia over all the stuff in her daughter's room.
That's weird.
Yeah. That's almost like you're going to the scene. you're burying your child, and you're like, I gotta keep something.
Yeah.
Get this jacket,
Yeah.
or you take your child out, you put her jacket on. She doesn't know she's about to be killed. She goes out with you wherever you're taking her to or driving her to, and you're like, I have to have something.
Yeah.
She's got the jacket on.
Because most people too, like, do that. They keep a souvenir, whether it's ID, whatever it is, jewelry, whatever. Yeah. So that does bother me too. And it bothers people. Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like if it was at home, they really don't need the jacket, but they would need, if they were going to do a search, something with her scent on it. And if she's in the house, I mean, you could find
Yeah.
a billion things with her scent on it. So that wouldn't be the issue unless that jacket was left at the scene of wherever she was supposedly abducted. But this happened at home, which threw me off anyway, and everybody's in the house. So it kind of reminds me of the little girl back in the day that used to be the model. She used to do, her parents used to put her in all those pageants, and she went.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of just no evidence. So
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But there's nothing to pinpoint them to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's somebody in that house. Come on now. Like, there was just too much going on. So
yeah. So what do you, one more thing, and then, Steve said, I could end it. I'll let you have the floor, but, what do you think do you think a parent, how do I want to ask? If you think could something be planned? Let's see. Maybe this is a two-part question. Okay. Do you think this is possible that this could be planned? It's going to be a two-part question. And if so, do you also think that a parent could plan it long enough that they could make too many pictures? Is there such thing as making too many pictures?
Like if something's
Of
about
your
to happen to your
children?
child.
Yeah.
So you're taking an overabundance of pictures to kind of, yeah. And then your first question again, I got the last one with the pictures, but what was the first one? Do you
think it could be planned? Like, how long would it take to plan to disappear somebody or something like that?
Okay, so for me, if they have, let's just say that they had something to do with that sibling going missing. They know she's in a spot, nobody's ever going to find it, ever. So for them to execute it again, it would not be that hard, because they probably could put her in that same very exact spot where she knows, they know if they had anything to do with that previous case, they have a spot where obviously nobody's going to find.
Yeah.
If they had anything to do with that. They did a lot with her that day, so it could have been like, let's give her this last hoorah before, and that could have been a thing. Only thing I'm not getting is why her and not the brothers or any of them. Why just Summer? I know she's the only girl, so why just her? That's another question I have, and not anything to the other two.
Yeah.
And just simply because she's a girl. It could just be simply because she complained a lot, or they didn't like, whatever. It could be a number of things. You just never know what people are thinking. But it's definitely something they could have planned out all the way into the day.
Yeah.
I don't think it was planned out so far in advance, though, that they strategically planned it out. I think if they got away with something, it wouldn't be that far for them to get away with it again, because they would have a whole area. They would have a whole spot that's never been found on somebody else. So they knew I was going to find her.
Yeah.
Even though the spot may not be, it could be in plain sight.
Right.
So,
Very well could be.
oh, Candace didn't want a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Nana's Angels. She wants to know, can I ask a question for her? I haven't seen her in a long time, so I will ask. What can I ask for you, Nana? She talks to the dad and different ones a lot. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, let me see what she. I just happened to glance up and see her. Some people's feeling something happened more abruptly and decisions had to be made. Yeah. Uh, uh, Thank you, Borrowed Angel. Nana's Angel, if you'll tell me your question, I'll ask her. Let's see. When summer first, yeah. When Summer first come up missing, dispatcher said she was last wearing gray shorts and a freaking pink shirt. And oh yeah, and so they also said she was first said she was 4 and then 5 and then yeah, everything was just a hot mess when it first happened.
It was. It was all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Millie, you don't see Nana's Angels? We saw her, didn't we? You saw Nana's Angels, didn't you?
Mhm.
I just don't see her anymore. So
Oh.
I don't see her anymore. But Nana's Angels, if you're still in here, I will ask real quick, and then I'm fixing to close out with her.
She said, what about Candace taking the jacket to Kathy's and leaving it? Okay, we answered that one, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, we answered it, but okay. So yeah, about Candace taking the jacket to Kathy. Yeah, we just answered that, Nana. You might need to stroll back because we did ask her that, Nana's Angels. That's what we were talking about right before you came in and leaving it. Oh, okay, and leaving it. Let me add that to it. So here's the thing with that memory box and the jacket and everything. So Candace left it there when she left and went back to Dawn. She left the memory box and all of the stuff of her or of Summers and the memory box there. What do you feel about that?
She probably didn't want to bring it into the house because it's not something he wants to see. Or she wanted to hang on to something and he told her not to have anything. And he probably maybe told her to destroy it and she still got it because that's still her baby, her daughter, or, whatever. And so it could be one of the two things. She could have left it there because he told her to get rid of it and she still has all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't want it in the house. He wants it gone.
Yeah, and then later on, I guess her and the friend got in a fight. So then she accused the friend of stealing it. And, well, it wasn't so much that. What happened was basically, long story short, the friend opened it up and somebody got pictures of what was inside. So it come out that picture of the jacket was there. And it got online and basically everything broke out. So then she's saying that she stole it and he said she said thing. The friend said, well, if it's that jacket, she'll just turn it over to the cops. And so it became a big blowout thing. But to this day, Candace will not go get it. She still hadn't, because today the lady was online and said Candace still hadn't come got it. So that's been months ago. how do you, I mean, something's up.
Wow.
Yeah, something's up with that, isn't it?
And then why would she leave it there? And then law enforcement didn't want that either.
Well,
Obviously, she still got it.
the lady said she would, the only way that she could get it is if she went to law enforcement and get it. She'd be glad to drop it off at law enforcement in her town, which was like the next town over, because she felt like it was too fishy to just drop it off over in the town that they were at, because too much was just drama going on over there.
Oh. Oh, this is so weird.
Yeah.
And if their behaviors are not telling you that they did it, I don't know what it is. I mean, that's just my opinion, but there's red flags all over the place.
Yeah.
Still now, still, there were so many in the beginning, and there's so many like a couple years later. There's still.
Yeah. I just hope it's all over soon. I don't know if I see it inside or not. But anyway, red flags everywhere.
That's right, Duchess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I really enjoy talking to you. I'm speaking with Angel Brooks. She's a private investigator. And I really am sorry that Steve got knocked off, but I am going to actually let her have the floor and the last word. I know she's tired, and we have asked her questions to death. So she's been fun. I really enjoyed it. Steve sent me a private message and told me to end it when I felt like I needed to. And I think I've talked her head off. I'm going to be respectful, and I won't be respectful to Steve. But I'm going to give you the floor, Angel. And also tell them where they can find you and all the information on that. And I'll let you have it.
Sure. So I'll leave you all with my email. My email is info@angelicabrooks.net. If anybody has any questions or just wants to bounce ideas off of me, I am here. You can also, I have a nonprofit organization called the Silent Voices Project, where we do a lot of research behind missing women and children in the hopes of finding potential leads. We also do a lot of operations and different things like that to help with human trafficking and things like that. So if you want to find me or anything that I have going on, feel free, www.thesilentvoicesproject.org. And again, my email is info@angelicabrooks.net. Feel free to email me anytime.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
That was it was so good. Well, anytime. And I know Steve will welcome you back here anytime. And anytime you want to come on mine, I don't know what you see for me is what you get, but I'll be glad to talk to you about summer or anything else that comes up.
Absolutely. That'd be amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Yes. And reach out, guys, if you need to bounce ideas off or you're working a case and you just want some input, feel free to reach out. You all have a good night.
Well, thank you. Good night. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Well, that was fun. Thank you all so much for coming. You're all welcome. Thank you. I don't know what's going on with Steve, but Steve, I thank you so much for coming. Now we're on a first name basis and I don't even know. But thank you. I had to tell y'all that I really enjoyed talking to her, and I really think she is very good. I know we didn't get all of our questions and everything in, but that was so many. I just thought it would be the most respectful thing to do is just go with a few, which I actually thought it was a lot and a lot of good information. And I really like her. I really do like her. And I like Steve too. He's not so bad himself. And I think he really has good intentions on his book. And with Summer, and again, we're all in the same boat with Summer. We just want her found, in my opinion. And we want something to talk about to get her name and face out. That's the way to go. And I think tomorrow I'm just going to take it easy and finish up reading the book, slow down, and I guess I will see y'all in the streets. So thank you again, Mr. Steve, and y'all have a great night. And I guess I will see you around. Thank you. Bye.